That's too quick to get the queen out. But let's just develop normally. Let's see what he's trying to do. Now, he's trying to checkmate me in 4 moves. Pretty disrespectful in my opinion. But let's just develop our knight, defend the mate. And then he moves his queen over to b3. Little does he know this is already losing. I'm not going to defend my f7 pawn. I'm just going to play knight d4. Because keep in mind, his queen is under attack. So let's see what he does. Now that he takes on f7, look at this. His queen is under attack. I'm going to move my king, which means his bishop is under attack, his queen is under attack, and he's trying not to get forked. And once he plays this queen c4 move, he thinks he's guarding his bishop and guarding c2, but his queen is overworked. So all I'm going to do to win this game is just do a tactic called removing the guard, which is playing the move pawn to b5, chasing away the queen. Now he has to lose either his pawn or his bishop. Stop bringing your queen out too early. Okay, he checks. Now all I'm going to do here is take the bishop and we're already winning. His queen is under attack, by the way. So he pulls his queen back and I'm still going to play bishop to b4, offering up a free bishop. Now keep in mind, he's not able to take this bishop because he would have gotten forked. So he puts his queen here, and because the queen is the only piece that is developed, I'm going to continue to charge in the center of the board. Yes, he could fork me, but let's play d5. We're punishing him. He went for the little fork, but all I'm going to do here is take on e4. Now he has to move his queen. And how is he not going to get forked on c2? He took on d4. Maybe he thought his queen was trapped. It wasn't. But let's take the queen and now we're winning the game. So now it's just time to go for a checkmate. I'm going to start by putting my bishop here, controlling some light squares around this king. He attacks my bishop. I'm going to take. Notice how it opens this file pointing towards this king. And after the pawn takes, I'll get my rook in the game. That's a check. King has to move. And once he moves his king, because we're going for checkmate, I'm going to play the move pawn to d3, so that way his king is in a net and has nowhere to go. Yes, he's able to take my bishop, but once I put my queen here, there goes his rook. And my opponent resigns. Once they do this, we always take in order to pull their queen out, and then we develop our knight to gain a tempo on the queen. Moves the queen out the way. Not a good square to put the queen, but let's keep developing. He develops his knight. Let me develop my bishop, then castle my king. Okay, now I'll take my king out the center. And then he plays f3, which is bad. Again, here's the strategy. Your king is out the center, your opponent's king is in the center. Your goal is to open the center of the board. So I'm going to start by playing d5 to get rid of the pawns so my rooks can swing over with check. He took with the pawn. Now I'm able to play rook to e8, checking the king. Let's see how long I can keep him for. He moves the king out of the way. I would love to take this knight. I'm attacking it 2 times. He's also guarding it 2 times. So I'm going to take one of the defenders. So once he takes back, I'll be able to take the pawn. So he took. Now we take the pawn here. We're threatening discovered attacks. We're threatening forks. The center is open. Black is better. He moves his queen to defend against the fork, but my queen is on the same line as his king. So I'm going to use a discovered attack to deliver a checkmate in 2 moves. I'm going to start by taking on c3, which double checks the king. The king has to step over, and then I'm going to play queen to d8, and that's a checkmate. So let's check here. The king has to go here, and that's a checkmate. Look at this, bringing his queen out so early. That's fine though. Let's just develop normally, like nothing is happening. And then he's going for the 4-move checkmate. You know, you see that the guy is trying to disrespect us. But again, let's just develop our knight, prevent the mate, like there's nothing happening. And then he plays c3. He's trying to prevent the knight from going to d4, but that's not my intention. Let's just keep developing. We have 3 pieces developed. He plays d3. He's intending to develop his bishop and pin my knight. I don't want to allow this annoying move, so I'm actually going to play h6 to prevent it. He moves his knight to e2 and the punishment begins here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play the move pawn to d5, just opening the center, and we're trying to trap this queen or win this bishop. He decided to take with the pawn. He's attacking my knight. We're not moving the knight because we're punishing him for bringing the queen out too early. So we're going to play the move pawn e4, and we're now attacking the queen, sacrificing another pawn. And then once he takes the second pawn, we hit him with knight e5, hit the queen, hit the bishop, winning the bishop, which means we're winning the game. He moves his queen over to g3. So let's just grab the free bishop. And then he plays pawn to d6. Not sure what this does. So let's just take the free pawn, hit the queen. Queen still has to move. And then he decided to take a free pawn on g7. I saw this though, because once I move my rook to g8, this is called a skewer. His queen has to move out the way. and then I'll be able to grab back my pawn, and his king is even more vulnerable. He gave a check, doesn't do anything. Let's just pull back the rook. He still has to move his queen again. He pulls his queen back, trying to set up a pin on my knight. But what I'm seeing here is, if I'm able to get a knight on f3, that would be a fork. So I'm going to start by playing the move knight e5. I'm threatening this fork, and I could potentially put a knight on d3. He played bishop to g5, not seeing my threats. So let's just play knight f3, hit him with this fork. He moves his king out the way, putting his king on the same line as my bishop. Let's start by grabbing the queen though. And then once the bishop move, I'll move my bishop here, giving a check, which means we're also winning his bishop. That's a discovered attack. He moves his king. Let's grab the bishop. He attacks my queen. Let's just move, attack his pawn. And now we check, winning this pawn. King has to move. Well, he blocks with the knight, so let's apply more Ooh-ish, I lost my queen. He missed it. We have 8 seconds though, so let's castle and then set up this checkmate right here. Oh my lord. Okay, let's go here. I have 5 seconds. This is crazy. I should have checked here. Okay, now let's give a check here. And once he moves his king, I'll give another check here. The king still has to move again. And then another check here. The king still has to move, and then another check here. And where does the king go? I'm not seeing it, so the knight has to block. And rook takes is going to be a checkmate. And that's a check. Wait, what? Oh, fudge. He has this square. Oh, no, I lost. Another early queen attack. Not sure why they keep doing this, but let's develop. Now he's attacking my pawn twice. He's threatening mate, but we're going to develop to prevent it. He plays this to prevent my knight from going here, but let's keep developing. Now he's attacking my bishop. Let's pull it back 1 square. That's fine. Now he plays this. He wants to trap my bishop. So I'm going to play here. So if he attacks my bishop, I have an escape square. Now he attacks my knight. I'm going to just take here. The pawn is not able to take due to the pin. So he took with the bishop. Now I'll simply castle my king. He puts his knight on the edge of the board, which is bad. I won't stop repeating this strategy. His king is in the center. My king is out the center. We open the center. He took my pawn. I'm going to play e4 to attack his queen, even though my knight is under attack. And once he moves the queen, then I take the pawn. He moves the queen out the way. Now I'll simply take the pawn. Now keep in mind, my pawn is hanging, but he's not able to take. He pulls his bishop back, hitting my knight. His knight is on the edge of the board. Bishops are better than knights, but I'm still going to give up my bishop for his knight. Why? It gives him double pawns, and it gives my knight access to this square. Now his queen is under attack. He's still not able to take my pawn. Well, he took the pawn. How we find this tactic is called a pin. The queen and the king is on the same line. We play the move, rook to e8, pinning his queen, winning his queen. He sacks his queen. Let's simply take back. Now we're trying to go for mate. He moves the king out the way. I'm going to put my queen here. It attacks his rook and it attacks his bishop. Notice how we're trying to attack unprotected pieces. He moves his king out the way, but that's a checkmate. He took his queen out way too early. I'm just going to immediately open the center of the board. And then once he took, I'm just going to play e5, just starting the punishment for bringing his queen out early. Okay, he moves his queen all the way to b6. I could take back the pawn, but let's just develop first. And now I'm going to get my king out the center. He plays d6, his king is in the center, and he's intentionally opening the center. So I'm going to start by getting my rook on the file. It's on the same line as his king. He's now pinning my knight to my queen, but that's already bad because once I take this pawn, it automatically comes with a check. That's a discovered attack. He moves his king out the way, and even though my knight is pinned to my king, I'm still able to play the move knight to e5 because it comes with check, and I'm also forking his king and his bishop. He moves his king out the way, but notice he puts his king on the same file as my rook. Now, before we use the discovered attack, let's get my queen into the game. Now, we have 4 pieces in the attack. He moves his king out the discovered attack, but he missed that. That was a checkmate. Okay, let's develop, hit the pawn. He develops his bishop. I mean, that's already a free pawn, but let's just join the Italian game. Let's not be greedy. He guards the pawn, and let's just keep developing our pieces normally. He develops his bishop. I'm not going to take his bishop because to take is a mistake. So let's pull our bishop back to b3, and then if he takes, I get the file. It looks like he wants to play d5, but that doesn't work. Let's first get our king out the center, and then he develops his queen a bit too early. Let's punish him for that weird move. Let's just go d4, immediate pawn sacrifice in the center. He took with the pawn. Let's play e5, another pawn sacrifice. We're just going to open the center. And then once he takes, I'm going to play knight e4, hit the queen, hit the bishop. He now has to move his queen. Well, he puts the queen here, which means that's just a free bishop. Don't bring a queen out too early. Then he plays bishop h3. Obviously, he's going for this little checkmating trick here. But knight h4 hits the queen and defend against the mate. Okay, he plays queen to g4. He's trying to trade even though he's down in material. That's not how it works. We're not going to be in an endgame. Let's just take the queen. We're ahead by an entire piece, so the goal is to trade. And once he takes back, that's already a free pawn. But let's bring more pieces in the game first. Let's attack this pawn. He develops his knight guarding the pawn. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to eliminate that knight. And then once he takes, now the pawn is free and his king is in check. He blocks the check with his knight. His knight is pinned. I'd love to apply pressure to the knight, but then he's just going to play f6. So I'm just going to play bishop to d2 with the aim of bishop here and rook here, applying a lot of pressure. He plays b5, and let's just bring the rook in the game. Now we're putting pressure on the pinned knight. He should lose another piece. He puts his bishop here in the way. That does not help because once I take the bishop, if he takes back my bishop, he's still losing the knight. So we take, the knight is pinned, he's still going to lose the knight, and then we grab the knight. Now, we're just going to go for checkmate in this endgame situation. He plays a5. Now, my goal is to try to get both of my rooks on the 7th rank. But let's get the knight in the attack first. He plays b6 attacking the knight. Let's get the knight here. Notice how his king is now not able to move. So he's basically in a mating net. And then once he plays here, I mean, that's a far, but we're going for mate. I'm going to play bishop to g5, putting my bishop on the same diagonal as his king, which is already not able to move. And then he puts his rook here, but all I need to do to checkmate him is to simply move my rook to f7, and that's checkmate. Another early queen attack. Okay, we develop the knight and just protect the pawn first. And then this guy's going for the 4-move checkmate. But right here, what we need to play is g6, which chases away the queen. And then once he pulls his queen back, threatening the mate here, we simply develop our knight, defending by blocking, and then we're doing fine. Now, another thing that you need to keep in mind is this bishop has to be fianchetted, and then you castle. Okay, so now let's castle our king, and now we're about to punish him for bringing his queen out too early. I'm going to start by playing d5, opening the center, because his king is in the center. He captured the pawn, and then I'm going to play e4, more sacrifices, just to get rid of my pawns. And then once he takes, I'm going to play the move knight to e5. Hits the queen, hits the bishop, we're already winning a piece. Okay, now let's just grab this free bishop, and we're winning. He attacks my knight, but this is danger levels. Before I move my knight, I'm going to play the move knight h5 and chase away his queen. And then once he moves his queen, now I'm able to move my knight with a tempo on his queen. So let's see where he puts it. And then we play f5. We're just keep going for more pawn breaks because we're trying to open the center of the board. He developed his knight. Okay, let's play f4 here, attacking his queen. And he has to be careful where he puts his queen. Okay, he puts his queen here, but that's already a fork. This is why you don't bring a queen out too early. d4. Okay, let's pull that queen out, and then we develop our knight and attack the queen. He moves his queen out the way. Let's just keep developing. He plays an unnecessary pawn move, but let's just keep developing. He develops his knight. Let's get our king out the center, and then he plays another unnecessary pawn move, which means we're gonna start our attack. First thing I'm gonna do is open the center with a pawn break because his king is in the center. He plays bishop e2, which did not do much. Let's just take on e4. I'm already targeting f2, so he has to be careful. He took on e4. Let's just take. And then queen takes is not really good because I'm able to play rook to e8, putting my rook on the same line as his king. He moves his queen out the way. Now we're just going to go knight d4, pp on the pp, and I'm threatening this fork. He moves his king out the way to prevent the fork, but he's going to get checkmated in the next 2 moves. Because the first thing I'm going to do is grab this bishop. Now, his knight does not have to take, but if his knight takes, then queen to d1 is going to be made. Let's see what he does. Let's grab the bishop, hitting the queen, hitting the knight. He took without thinking, which means that's just a checkmate. Let's take, pulling out his queen early, and we gain a tempo on his queen. Now he moves his queen 2 times. Let's keep developing. He develops his knight to protect the pawn, but I'll develop my bishop, pin the knight. Which means I'm now able to capture the pawn on e4. If his knight takes, I take his queen. The queen has to move. I'm not going to protect the knight. I'm going to get my king out the center, and if the queen takes, I pin the queen. So let's pin the queen, and we're just winning a queen. Let's take. Now we're winning, so we just need to start trading pieces. Let's take. Let's go here, trade. Let's trade, attacking this pawn, and I'll take the pawn, attacking the rook and the king at the same time. That's another rook. Let's get the rest of our pieces out. Let's play d5, and he resigns. But I'm going to take. If his queen takes, he's moving his queen more than once I develop my knight and attack it. He moves his queen away. Now let's just develop. Now we have 2 pieces developed. That's a bad move. But I'll just keep following principles. Let's develop my bishop. He got his knight out, and I'll castle my king. He's breaking more principles, moving the knight more than once. I'm going to punish this by sacrificing my knight. I'm going to take here, and once he takes, my queen swoops in with a check, and blocking with the pawn is not good because I'll win his rook. So now he has to move his king, and if he moves his king, I'm mating him. So he did move the king. Once I take here, I'm attacking the knight. He has to be careful because if he moves the knight, which he did, that's just checkmate. Let's go e5 this game. Why did he develop his queen so early? I'll just develop my knight. Ah, he's going for the 4-move checkmate. But I'll simply develop my knight and prevent it. Now he plays g4. He's trying to chase my knight away. But once I play here, I'm attacking his queen and I'm threatening this fork. So the queen had to go all the way back. Now I'm going to move this pawn 2 squares, attacking the bishop. And once the bishop takes, I won't take back the bishop just yet. I'll take this pawn first, attacking the queen. Then I'll take the bishop. He took my knight. I'm going to swoop my queen in the game, checking the king. I'm going to put my bishop here, threatening this pawn 2 times. Putting the knight here doesn't help because once I check, the king has to move, and that's just a checkmate. And that's a checkmate. Use this to prevent the scholar's mate, and follow me for more videos like these.